Driving over, despite the undoubted hard work of you and your ministers, which is acknowledged by this committee, are you presiding over a complete destruction of the sector?
Well, no, of course, is the short answer to that, Mr. Chairman. But there are so many points that you raised in those opening remarks. I moment those challenges. One of the terrible things about being a minister during this crisis, particularly a minister for culture, sports and other areas, is that I'm doing things that I find positively hateful. I do not want to be stopping theatres from operating properly. I don't want to be stopping fans from going into stadiums. The reason why we're doing this, though, and paying that price is in order to secure public safety, in order to control COVID, and we're taking record measures to support all those sectors through this difficult period of time.
Just a few points
you were just making about the money that's been handed out from the Cultural Recovery Fund. Is it true that a condition of getting that money from the government is that anybody who receives it has to praise the government?
No, it's certainly not the case. No, but of course what we did when people received those awards was we got in contact with them and we said, do publicise it, because I think it's important for people to know that this money is coming.
According to arts professionals, recipients were instructed, and I quote, to welcome this funding on your social media accounts using hashtag Here for Culture on your website, etc., etc. In receiving this funding, you are agreeing to acknowledge this funding publicly by crediting the government's Cultural Recovery Fund.
Arsene Wenger event. There are 62,000 seats in the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. That's just under 2% of the people that were in the Palladium. Even if you put 1,000 people in the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, you can't do that. There are roughly 100 acres to a golf course. Yeah, the PGA at Wentworth on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, this last weekend. No spectators at all. You can understand why people are confused about that Secretary of State. 1,000 people to watch Arsene Wenger talk about the history of Arsenal's great period, but you can't actually watch the current situation.
Yes, of course, I accept people's frustration at the inconsistency there. But all I can do is explain to you how this has come about. And the simple reason for it is that in relation to sports, we had sports on a path to return to normality. Mm-hmm. And indeed, sports were the first to get on the first stage of return to normality. That is football behind closed doors. I think we were one of the first countries in the world to achieve it. And at that time, I was being attacked by arts for saying that I was prioritising sports. The next phase was to have pilots to move to a point from the 1st of October whereby we would be able to have socially distanced spectators in stadiums. That is what I desperately wanted to happen because of where we are with the disease and the rapidly rising rates of infection. It has not been possible to have that further easement because the very clear advice...
Do you?
Well, I've made clear my deep scepticism and concern about this, both in terms of the provisions itself, where it seems to tend towards a closed shop for effectively the 6 most powerful clubs in the Premier League, since they would have a majority of the 9. But I think more importantly for government right now, there is a problem in football, which football is perfectly capable of resolving itself, whereby the Premier League and the EFL just need to get together and do this deal. We know that they will, from conversations I've had, we know that EFL clubs will not be allowed to go bust, and the resources there, but we need a comprehensive deal, and I think that this is a distraction at best from that. And I think what it demonstrates is that we were wise to put in our manifesto provisions for a fan-led review, because it genuinely brings into question the ability of football to govern itself properly. And I think the way that football can demonstrate that it can govern itself well and properly is to get this deal over the line, which is there to be had, whereby the Premier League uses its wealth to support the wider football family, which is common in other countries, and the EFL also comes properly to the negotiating table rather than being distracted by projects like this.
And